So we are going to go to the last segment here of this press conference. It was so good I have to do parts of it. You know what I'm saying? I have to record parts. I don't want the videos to be too long. So let's get it. Let's check this out. Remember to like and share the video, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna go into the Q&A portion here. Let's get it.
Some online questions because I found the online questions really interesting last night. But until we do, are there any questions from
Anthony Luck from TBJ. You need a mic? All right, come use this one.
Welcome, Anthony. Thank you for joining us.
All right, firstly, for me, can I ask you to respond to this release from the JLP just now, which states that the General Secretary condemns PNP's elements for bomb threats? Yes, in the release, Dr. Chang says it appears elements in the PNP have adopted mischievous and disruptive actions in an attempt to disrupt the voting of the security forces. I urge elements in the PNP to desist from seeking. Can I get you to respond to
This
that?
was prepared before the bomb threats were issued.
No, he does not.
I
Can I get a response to that, please?
Yeah, I saw, well, may I say this before a full response? Because a full response will have to come from the General Secretary. But I saw when that release was posted. And as somebody who grew with him granny, there is often a trait among the guilt. My grandmother's version of it was not as sophisticated as Sigmund Freud. But Sigmund Freud famously says, criminals leave clues. They have a compulsion to confess. For Dr. Chang, who is presently not only the Deputy Prime Minister, but the Minister of National Security, to make such a bizarre statement before the authorities are able to conclude any investigation speaks to a mind that may reflect the mischief they complain about as the creator of the mischief, not the one describing it. It is an utterly unprofessional, below par, and reckless statement for him to have made, but it is consistent with the statements we have seen over the last 3 debates, where in the face of truth, people are able to hide behind innuendo of their own creation. And he's to be condemned for that.
No. To add to that, because we've been updated, I want to share the release from Dr. Dayton Campbell, official press release addressing Horace Chang and the Jamaica Labour Party. So, sorry, my bad, y'all. So it says here, PNP rejects JLP desperate and baseless claims. The PNP strongly rejects the false and desperate accusations made by the Jamaica Labour Party General Secretary Dr. Horace Chang seeking to link the PNP to bomb threats reported today. When those in authority rush to spread false allegations without evidence, it is usually a signal of their own complicity. Right? This latest statement by Dr. Chang comes even before the authorities themselves have made a determination, right? Or made determinations. And it follows a pattern where the JLP made sensational claims that later collapsed under scrutiny. Just last month, Donovan Williams publicly blamed the PNP for shooting incident near a JLP campaign team in central Kingston. Yet the police confirmed that no motive had been established. Similarly, Dr. Vaz suggested political motives after another shooting near the JLP meeting, but both the police and the PNP made clear that the incident was not political. Commenting on the matter, the General Secretary, Dr. Dayton Campbell, said, every accusation by the JLP is an admission. Having lost the debates, the JLP is now seeking to distract from their failures and suppress the vote of the security forces. Let it be clear. Let it be clear. The PNP has made its case to the people and to the police, and we are encouraging every eligible officer to exercise their democratic right to vote freely and without fear. The JLP knows that Jamaicans, include our security forces, want change. They want relief of the PNP's $3.5 million income tax threshold. They want leadership that puts people first. The JLP is trying to keep police officers away from the polls because they are afraid of the verdict of the people. The PNP will continue to campaign as true Democrats, standing on our track record, our policies, and our commitment to deliver a better life for all Jamaicans. We will not be distracted by fabricated stories from a desperate government clinging to power. Mighty God.
Thank you so much. My next question goes to you, Mr. Robinson. What do you make of the comments from former EPOC co-chair that the PNP's plans cannot work without adding taxes?
Well, I've explained in fairly extensive detail how we plan to fund it, which is that the reduction in the debt to GDP ratio, getting to 60%, as actually confirmed by the Fiscal Commissioner in his release, and Mr. Duncan chairs the Independent Fiscal Council, for which the Fiscal Commissioner is accountable. So the data from the Fiscal Council, which says we're going to hit 60% 2 years earlier, allows the government additional fiscal space, which we will use to implement this plan. It is sound, it can be stress tested by any economist, and it can be verified. So we are confident that we can implement this based on how the adjustment in debt to GDP and what that frees up in terms of fiscal space.
And lastly for me, despite pushback from the opposition, the government insists the school buses are ready to go come September 1. Should the PNP take office after September 3, what's next? What will happen to these buses?
I mean, the reality is that we are not against a school bus system. And I just want to make that clear. But what we have an issue with is importing buses that are 15 years old, that are left-hand drive, that are really unsuitable for narrow, windy, hilly roads. We would like a proper school bus system so we can transport our kids safely around the country. But the buses that have been imported are clearly not suitable. So we are not against a school bus system. But certainly, as my colleague said, I think in the debate, why would you import brand new garbage trucks to take up garbage, but then import 15-year-old buses to move the future of the country?
Embarrassing. He needs some milk.
You know, that was so profound. You buy a brand new garbage truck for car garbage, but you buy 10 to 15-year-old buses for car we picking them. Wanna see what them think about our kids? Mighty God. Let's continue. I'm not even stop it too much.
That doesn't make sense. We have already seen the buses being having issues. Bring in proper buses that can navigate the roads. We fully support that.
You know, this school bus program reminds me of one of the first acts that the Jamaica Labour Party government carried out, which was deemed an act of corruption. They imported 600 used cars for the police. Within, some of them came and started falling apart immediately. It was nothing but a scam. Up to today, after court action, the funds have still not been repaid and the cars have still not been received. This school bus program there was no procurement process was followed. It just simply came out of the blue. These buses are buses which are taken out of the system in the United States. They are retired, and they retire them because they put the safety of their children as being of paramount importance. I challenge Minister Badmind. To take those buses on a tour now.
Wait a minute. Wait. The new name for Darryl Falls is Minister Badmind. I don't know if y'all caught that, but I'm going to play that again. Minister Badmind.
As being of paramount importance. I challenge Minister Badmind.
Emotional damage. Embarrassing. He needs some milk.
Paramount importance. I challenge Minister Badmind. I challenge Minister Badmind to tense. I challenge Minister Badmind. I challenge Minister Badmind to take those buses on a tour.
Embarrassing. He needs some milk.
Challenge Minister Badmind. I challenge Minister Badmind to take those buses on a tour now, before the election date. Take those buses on a tour, not just to drive down the street, but take them on a tour of every nook and cranny in Jamaica. And I am willing to say to you, they would not survive quarter of the journey. What you would expect is more tires to be shredded, although I gather now that on top of the $1.4 billion, we are spending an additional $25 million on tires. By the time they take 2 hills in Prattville, half of them will be out of commission. And I dare say that if they go up to where I come from, which is Mount Providence and Woodhall, they could not even navigate that narrow road. We believe in a rural school bus program. I went to school at Clarendon College, so I understand the significance of a rural school bus program when people coming from Thompsontown and all those places, but it is not the most efficient way in some cases. And that is why the People's National Party ride program is far more effective. Because you can't have 4 people coming from Smithville and you send a bus up there to go and pick them up. It is not sensible, and it needs a mix of solutions. This rural school bus program, you just mark my word. Within a few months, Jamaica will see it for exactly what it is. No,
Emotional
there are some places
damage.
where it can be used. We don't expect it to last 15 years because our situations are different. If you're driving in Florida, you're not going to drop in a pothole every 2 minutes. No, we are not going to discard it because that will be waste. And we as a party, we do not embrace waste. We take decisions which are well thought out and well implemented. So yes, we would use it where it's feasible. We are just not going to endanger our children, their safety and their security by sending those school buses in areas where they ought not to be. And I just want to say one last thing. We have never advocated left-hand drive vehicles in Jamaica. Our drivers are not trained to drive left-hand drive vehicles in Jamaica. And these are just some of the reasons which makes this decision a poor decision. Anthony, in Clarendon in 2013, the People's National Party started a rural school bus program because there were concerns about the behavior of the children on the buses. You know how that goes. And there was concerns for their safety and their security consequently. It was not stopped by the People's National Party. It is this administration that decided in 2020 that they would abandon it. So yes, we are committed to a rural school bus program. And yes, we will make the best use possible of these yellow school buses.
I want to say, just to tag something onto what Senator has said to your question. What of the Island Traffic Authority? I mean, the rum bath aside, we saw the minister pouring what appeared to be rum on the buses. The rum and the minister do not do certificate of fitness. They cannot suffice for it being properly checked. There are policies advanced by the JLP administration that prevents cut vehicles from being imported. If they have cut the other side of the bus to install a door, that point becomes a weak point in the unfortunate event should there be collision. That's one. 2, the recent changes to the Road Traffic Act would make those buses unfit for our roads just on the interpretation of the act. Let's give an example. The buses being so long can't go around a hairpin corner, such as the ones that would have to take you up from Balaclava to Roses Valley without you having to reverse. Driving a Pajero or a Prado around some of those corners, you still have to reverse. If you're driving a left-hand vehicle, reversing in Jamaica, where we drive on the left, physics and logics confirm that you would have had to put at risk somebody coming behind you driving in the left lane. It was poorly thought through, and I go back to where I began on the matter. In this country, a parliamentary democracy, when a government is spending to the tune of $1.4 and more billion, it ought to be expressed in the estimates of expenditure, which simply means in April, there had been no plan, no intention, and no budgetary allocation for the procurement of one of those buses, let alone the 100 buses. And I would invite you and others to call the Island Traffic Authority to ask them whether or not they have reviewed either the retrofitted buses or the buses that were imported. And upon their review, have there been any issue of certificate of fitness or the equivalent that says to you as a parent, this bus is safe for my child?
Well, thank you very much, those of you who have joined in. I want to address one last point, Julian, and that is something that I saw on X, formerly Twitter. I don't know why we still say formerly Twitter, but it was in relation to a comment that our leader made about Member of Parliament Juliet Holness. Now, the way that it has been spun is that he was wrong to speak about the Prime Minister's wife. Politics is for people who are accustomed to a sport. It's a sport. It's not a tea party. If you want to remain outside of the public scrutiny, then you should remain in a position of a wife. Once you determine that your husband, being Prime Minister, you want to become a member of the Parliament, and then, having succeeded at that, you take on the position as Speaker. That is now, your husband holds the highest position in the executive, and you hold the highest position in the legislature. You have opened up yourself to being held to account in the way that any other politician will be. So it's not that you're no longer simply, and I use simply advisedly because being a wife means that you're part of a family, you're a unit. But once you do that, and you're a politician, you must appreciate that people are free and indeed will point to conflicts of interest because they will arise. You have a choice. This is something that you did, thinking about it and deciding that this was where you wanted to be. So respectfully to all those, to the MP whose tweet I noticed, yes, your family is off limit. Your husband and your child is definitely off limit. Everybody should respect that. I endorse that comment, but politicians are not off limit.
Emotional damage.
And their conduct must be held up off limit. Every off limit. Your husband and your child is definitely off limit. Everybody should respect that. I endorse that comment, but politicians are not off limit. And their conduct must be held up to scrutiny. It must be transparent and it must be accountable, and you must set your example by abiding by the rule of law. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Julian. I know you're busy campaigning, but I think that all that's set already. Thank you, Cleveland. Thank you, Raymond. It's just a pleasure to be with all these amazing men up here. So see you again soon.
Mighty God. If I love Senator Mrs. Donna Scott Mottley one more time, I would have to be challenging her husband for her marital status. Listen to me. It's so wonderful to have a woman address that. Not only a woman, but a woman of law, a woman of integrity, and a woman that is actually married as well. You understand? And she's absolutely right. If Juliet Holness was not a part of the government, the scrutiny about questioning them buying a house allegedly from Finsack, a Finsack house, this emotional argument about not mentioning his wife is absolute rubbish. All right? It's a gaslighting attempt to make people feel, one, sorry for Andrew Holness, and two, attack Mark Golding to suggest that he took a low blow to Andrew Holness. No. The information that he was referencing, right, implicates Julian Holness in it as well. So he was well within his rights, ladies and gentlemen, to ask the question. He was absolutely well within his rights to ask the question. Alright? Because her name was involved in it. Furthermore, like Senator Donna Mottley said, aren't you the head of the legislative? Aren't you a member of parliament? Huh? Albeit you're the wife of the prime minister, you do not get a pass because you're the prime minister's wife. You are a politician, man. Not just the prime minister's wife. So, this, with all of those variables, whoever is trying to gaslight and do all of these things, listen, cut them a larky, have on yourself a good day. You're going to take all of this L all the way to September 3rd. Alright? And that is it. Alright? That is it. Remember to like the video, share the video, and we're going to move on to the final part and final segment of the show. Yes? Let's continue.